Hey guys, Pair bring you the Season 4 Unholy Death Knight gearing guide. Today we're talking about the base setup for the Unholy Death Knight, including your crafter pieces, as well as the stuff to spend your bullions. Season 4 really only brings new gearing choices. We use the same talents, we use the same rotation, all those kind of things. But we can now access gear from all the 3 Dragonflight raids, as well as all the Dragonflight dungeons, which are not currently part of the Mythic Plus rotation. Anyway, so let's talk about bullions. You get one of these every week, and then you need 2 of them to buy an item, and then you can get as many as possible. And obviously, you have a very distinct priority on what to buy. Very simply, your first item should be Scale of Awakening. This is used on your legendary, sets to 502 and allows it to be upgraded to 14 out of 14 Awakened, I think it's called. That is by far the best kind of upgrade you can look at when it comes to spending your crest, right? And if you look at, I buy this bullion, what is the DPS upgrade to a max eye level from that point of view? The legendary is just far above everything else. It's good to note here that this is going to be pricey when it comes to crest and when it comes to flight stones. And so you probably want to save up on those until you can buy this on week 2. You can, if you want to be really, really efficient about it, if you loot a high eye level weapon from a dungeon, equip that, you can then upgrade your legendary without spending the crests to that point. Just, the discounting system, right? So that's a good way of kind of making sure you get an upgrade. And, if you get a high level weapon, it will be better than your legendary, depending on the exact gap, but you can just sim that, so that's another way. Anyway, once you get that, your second item should be a trinket, and we're looking at Netherion's Call to Suffering. That's going to be the best trinket. It's quite good because you don't require allies like with Whispering Incarnate Icon and Ominous Chromatic Essence. Those are otherwise really good alternatives. It's a bit random, so sometimes it doesn't proc in the opener and you can get some really high variance in DPS, but it's still the general go-to option. You can opt to go Whispering Incarnate Icon or Ominous, but then you need to have allies, so it's kind of like, why would you pick that if you can just pick up Nefarian and it's better? So there you go. Third item, it should be Ashes of the Ember Soul if you're unlucky with your Mirror of Fracture Tomorrow. So Mirror is still biz in Season 4, not at its old eye level. Dawn of Infinite, it's not part of the plus rotation. However, you can run that at Mythic 0, and if you do that in hard mode, you can use a Hero Track Mirror that goes almost all the way up max eye level. I think it's 522, something like that. Anyway, the thing is that Ashes is essentially on par. If you sim them, it's just a 0.1% difference. So you're probably going to try and run Dawn the first couple of weeks. If you don't get a mirror, I would buy Ashes of the Ember Soul to be on use trinket and upgrade that. After this point, we have some special items we can buy, which are pretty good. We have 2 rings, Seal of Diana's Chosen and Seal of Filial Duty. They both give defensive value and offensive value. Especially Diana's Chosen is good offensive value. And we have so much fire damage now from the legendary that it's going to be proccing all the time. So it's saturated, as I say. Finally, the final item should be Voice of the Silent Star going on your back. And then that you're set on your special item from the bullions. 6 in total, going to take you 12 weeks if you buy them all. But ideally, you're going to loot these from the Awakened raids. Hopefully some of them before you're going to have to buy them all. But that's going to be ordered. That's going to be a priority. This also kind of covers trinkets, but let's just go through that again. So Unholy wants to use an unused trinket and a passive trinket in pretty much all scenarios. For unused, we have Mirror, as I said. That is best if you can get it from Dawn hard mode. Hard mode here means that no one can die during the entire run. You kill the final boss, that gives you that item, which is a Hero Track. Alternative is definitely Ashes. You loot that from the raid, comes from Smoldron, and you can buy it with a bullion, so it's very deterministic. So don't worry about Mirror. Mirror is like, if you get that early, it's great because you don't need to upgrade it to anything. Or you do need to upgrade it, but you don't need to go through the entire bullion upgrade path. But yeah, that's the alternative. When it comes to passives, as I said, Nefarian is the best trinket as a general rule, but it has quite a lot of variants. You have Whispering Incarnate Icon as a good alternative if you can get a tank, DPS, and healer equipping it. You have Ominous, also good alternative. Depends a little bit on your stat because it gives a lot of secondary. So you can kind of like, if you can get it to give you the secondary, which is the most valuable for you at the moment, is going to be good. But it also requires lots of allies to equip it. We also have, shouldn't mention, Cataclysm's Signet Brand. This ends up being your best passive in really long fights. So like 6-7 minutes, that ends up stacking up and just dealing loads and loads of damage. I don't expect the bosses to be that long though in the Fated, given how much we scale with eye level. So, but still wanted to mention that. When it's come to Mythic Plus, we want to do the same thing, except that Signet Brand is not a good idea. We run Ashes or Mirror plus a passive, and that's the general go-to vibe. Right, so that's Bullion's Trinkets. Let's talk about crafter gear. This is going to be similar to the season where you kind of fill in the gaps, because again, crafter gear does not go to the max eye level of Mythic gear. It is 5. What is it again? It's like 3 eye levels lower. So we want to equip it on slots which, you know, we lose less stats due to this like eye level deficit. So imagine if we have a head which is 3 eye levels lower, that's going to have a big impact than if we have a pair of braces. Generally, we want to have our neck and our braces being crafted. And we want to use Talk of Pastime, that's just like the general neck. We put on crit haste in the Abyss profile, but it's really going to depend on your current stats, so you can balance those. And we're going to have blue silicon on that. Same thing, braces, primer, molten bone braces, those are generic ones. Put on whatever stat fits you best in the moment, and then also blue silicon. So the embellishments would be double blue silicon. After you've done these two, you kind of just fill in the gaps. So if you haven't looted a good pair of, like a belt or a good pair of boots, you can then craft in that slot to bring up the eye level. But really, you're not going to be spending crests on craft to get early on, because all of those crests are just going to funnel into the legendary, and then everything else is probably going to be higher priority upgrades. Like upgrading a trinket using crests is much more DPS per crest than upgrading your braces, for instance. That's generally how it works, but again, it is a sim question. Also, a quick note on the tier set, that is obviously the same tier set as currently. However, it doesn't quite work like that. So when you, at least on the PTR, I'll put it down if this changes, but when you equip the new set, that actually doesn't stack with L1. So if you put on 2-piece of the new one and have a 2-piece of L1, even though they're literally the same one, you actually won't get 4-piece, and it won't stack to 2-piece. So it's going to be a sim question, but as a general rule, you're going to replace your all set when you have 4 new pieces of the actual new version of the same set. I know it's silly, but that's how it's currently working. So, all right, finally, just want to cover stats. With a mirror, we want to proc mastery during our opening burst, which means that we want the mastery as the top raw stats. That means if you look at the stats, you look at the actual numbers, you want to have like mastery at 6.5k, haste at 6.4k, and then crit and verse lower. That's the general vibe, but it's very important that the raw amount is mastery highest, and then haste just coming just after it, right? And because remember, blue silicon feeds into this, that counts. However, things like bloodlust, percentage-based things, doesn't count. And Power Weapon won't change it. So just before you pull the boss, have a look at max HP. Where's my mastery stat? Exactly. Where's my haste stat? And make sure you proc mastery on your mirror. Okay, so that's Season 4 gear guide for you guys. Hopefully that's useful. It's quite simple, generally, and I think it's going to become obvious when you see your character what's going to be the best upgrade. It's going to be weapon coming first, then upgrading your trinkets, and then potentially rings or the crafter gear. That's again a sim question. Let me down in the comments what you guys think about this video. Upvote, downvote, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.